Hello, everybody. I heard that you were having some trouble figuring out how to organize your Google Classroom to do face-to-face and remote learning at the same time. So I wanted to share with you what I've been doing for the past 3 weeks with my students, since I do teach both classes that are face-to-face, and I also teach classes that are 100% remote. So if you'll take a look at my screen, you'll see this is one of my Google Classrooms that I have here. And this is my 6th period in-person class, their class code. And I have it set up to have the meeting link right here. So if a student is in quarantine or they're absent for the day and they want to join class, all I have to do and they have to do is click on this link, and we'll be able to open up our cameras and they can become part of the class that way. With my remote students, all of them do this. So as soon as class starts and when the bell rings, all of us join this meeting and we have that live presentation together before they start their assignment. I usually only spend about the first 5 minutes of my classes talking. And then the rest of the time I'm just hanging out while they're doing the work, and then I'm just checking on them, monitoring how they're doing and answering questions. So that is how I do my meets. The way I added this here was to go into my settings, and down at the bottom you'll have an option to enable meets right there, and that's how it'll pop up at the top of your screen. So pretty straightforward. You also want to make sure that in your stream that only the teacher can post or comment, or else your kids will get a little wild in there. And you also want to make sure that you hide notifications of classwork. So you don't want your stream to be bogged down with classwork. It gets super confusing and difficult for the students to understand. So in my stream, they will only ever see announcements pop up. They're never going to see assignments loaded into this section. So this is just kind of extra information that they need, not their assignments. Their assignments are all in their classwork. The one thing that's really important is to make sure that you're choosing your topics and you're keeping your topics organized so students can find things really quickly. My district has asked us to do our topics by the week. So we have Unit 1, Week 3, and then the date range. And then we always put the newest things on top. So the older weeks, Week 1, Week 2, and Week 3. And you can always move this stuff around just by clicking these 3 dots on the side. You can move things down or up. Even the assignments here, you can move them down or up, which is really important when you start loading your assignments because it'll always load on top. So if you are trying to plan this and save yourself some time, you always want to make sure that you're kind of inputting your assignments backwards, and then you won't have to worry about coming over here and reorganizing all of these things. I always want to have mine organized with my lesson map on top, which is the guide for the week, and it's also the one-stop shop that I have all of their assignments and resources linked to. And then the assignments, I have them underneath by the days that they'll complete them. When I do set my assignments, I set all of this stuff up on Sunday, and I set it to release on the day that I want kids working on things. So for example, when I create a new assignment for the week, if I don't want it to release until Tuesday, instead of clicking assign, I'll actually come over here and click schedule, and I'll click the date and the time that I want it to release. So I do all of my front loading on Sunday, and each morning when I come into school, it's already activating without me having to go back in and set these assignments the day of. So that's a really, really important thing for you to keep in mind when you're planning out your stuff. Now, my lesson map, I said, was my one-stop shop. That's my super important section there. And it has everything linked to it. So I take all of my assignments that I'm going to have, and this is the thing that I do in the morning when I do get to class, is I activate these and make these live to the link. So I'll click copy link here for whatever the assignment is. And then in my lesson map, I have listed step by step what students will be doing for the day. So for this day, August 31st, I've got our objective here, and then I've got their steps. Do this, do this, do this, do this. My numbering's wrong here. Sorry about that. But it's listed out for them. And then I'll just come in, and whatever the assignment is, I usually already have my resources done, but whatever the assignment is, this is where I will hyperlink it to their Google Classroom. So you highlight, left click, link it, and paste in that link from Google Classroom. And when you do it that way, when the student comes in here and they click on that link, it's going to take them directly to their classroom assignment. I do always make sure that I have my instructions for the day's assignments and a presentation of the mini lesson that we do at the beginning of class recorded, so that if any students having connectivity issues, or they get kicked out of Google Meets for whatever reason, or if they're sick for the day and they need to come back and find this information at another time, they have access to that right there. So I do have a YouTube channel where I do all of my instructional stuff. And I just take the video for the day and I tell them, you know, good morning, today is this date. these are your instructions for the day, the 4 things you're going to be doing from the lesson map, and then we talk briefly about the topic. So whatever our topic is for the day, I show them an anchor chart poster, we talk about it a little bit, and then they'll learn more about that topic as they go through their procedures that I have listed on that lesson map. So that's a pretty cool thing that I've been doing for my kids, and it's been super helpful, so I don't have to keep repeating the instructions over and over, and it eliminates the kids saying, well, I didn't know what to do, so I didn't do it. Well, you could have gone back and watched the instructional video, and I explained very clearly what you're supposed to do, how to access the resources, where everything is, and how to do the assignment. So you eliminate that cop out there. So again, this is kind of the lesson map, and my kids, this is all they need for the week is all right here. So even though in Google Classroom, there's all of these assignments, because I have those assignments linked to the lesson map, they just know, come into class, open the lesson map, and work through the day. So 1, 2, 3, 4, those are the things we're doing, and then I know that I'm done, okay? And then again, I'll just usually hang out on Google Classroom, on Google Meets in the background, and I'll just be talking to them through their chat, or they'll be talking to me through their voice. One thing that we also use in my district that is incredibly helpful is we use GoGuardian. So when I use GoGuardian, I'll actually see all of their screens pop up on my computer, so I can actually see what they're working on. If they're having trouble finding something, I can open a link for them on their screen directly, or I can even close windows if they're on something that they shouldn't be on. And then they can message me privately back and forth through there. So we've been using GoGuardian with a lot of success. And I really only use the Google Meets as the introduction piece for students and to take attendance. And then I just watch their screens on GoGuardian while they're working. If a student's not using a school-issued Chromebook, that I don't see them on GoGuardian, and then in that case, I have to constantly be checking Meets and making sure that students are on task and that they don't have any questions, because I won't actually be able to see what they're working on there unless I go into the actual assignment and pull up their specific assignment, and then I'll be able to see what they're doing. Okay, I know that's a lot of information, but I hope that it helps you to smooth over how you're going to organize your classroom. Please, please, please keep in mind that if you have a teacher that's going to be working with you, you add them as a teacher up at the top. You always need to have at least one other teacher or a sub or a para or somebody in here. So if anything happens to you and you get sick, you have somebody that can go in there and they can facilitate your class for you. They'll have access just like any other teacher does. So if you have an elective teacher that's joining you, add them here, and they'll be able to post their assignments. They can even post their own topics. So anything that they do for fine arts or for PE or for anything else, they can have their own topic, and their assignments can go underneath that tab, and students can see that and access it relatively quickly. They'll also have access to run your Google Meets for you if you're doing virtual. Okay, so that's it. I hope that helps.